Depression and mental illness is what we're talking about today. Mental illness is a poignant subject to talk about, filled with complexities and variables. Depression is one of the mental illnesses that is the hardest to talk about because it's such a powerful force that takes control of your whole being. Depression still has a lot of taboos surrounding it. It affects more women than men. Are you affected by a type of depression or know someone who's going through a tough time with depression or any type of mental illness? Then this episode is going to be for you. Please note that today's episode is going to have some sensitive content. If you're not comfortable with this subject, please tune in to another one of our podcasts and we'll fully understand, and we'll see you next time. Welcome aboard the podcast, A Woman's Spark with Janik, a place to show women how powerful they are and remind them of the spark that they carry, the strength that gets us up every single time we fall, a place to feel seen and understood when we don't fully have what it takes to get back up on a hard day. This podcast is to help you heal and become the best version of yourself during the roller coaster of life. We're building a community of women that wants to help one another and inspire each other to become stronger and more united, as we were born to be. On today's episode, we're discussing depression and mental illness, but also being hospitalized with it. Depression is powerful and can take over your whole being and your whole life for a long time. It creeps into your life very slowly and can become like a massive wave if not treated or recognized early. Taking medication is one of the remedies, but finding the source of the depression can often take time and a lot of consulting of professionals. Are you going through a tough time mentally? Have you been diagnosed with depression or another mental illness? Or are you simply really tired all the time, feeling sad and at your lowest, and you just don't know why? If so, first of all, we recommend you consult a doctor and ask some questions, because it's important to get help when we don't feel at our lowest for a long time. I've lived with a burnout and a form of mental illness on and off over the years, so I sympathize thoroughly with anyone who's going through a similar situation. It is hard and all-consuming. A mental illness is not something we see, like a broken leg, but it's there. It's real. It's a real illness, just like an injury or like a broken leg. Finding help is a necessity. Did you know that according to the World Health Organization website, depression is a common mental disorder that an estimated 5% of adults suffer from? Like I said earlier, more women are affected by it than men. It can lead to suicide. There is effective treatment for mild, moderate, and severe depression. Depression is different from regular mood changes and feeling about everyday life. It can affect all aspects of life, including relationships with family, friends, and community. It can result from a lead to problems at school or even at work. During a depressive episode, a person experiences a depressed mood like feeling sad, irritability, feeling empty, and so many more symptoms. They may feel a loss of pleasure or interest in activities. Depression can happen to anyone. People who've lived through abuse, severe losses, or other stressful events are more likely to develop depression. Women are more likely to have depression than men, like I said earlier. Today's guest name is Lysanne Moisan. She's had depression and has also been hospitalized due to it. She's had to live with it for many years now. It has affected her in many spheres of her life. She's here to talk about her journey to help other women who are going through a similar difficult time. When we come back, she'll tell us more about her journey with it. Let's take a short break and welcome her after this. Welcome back to a Women's Spark podcast with Janik. Today on a Women's Spark podcast, we're going to be welcoming Lysanne Moisan. She's a daughter, a sister, an aunt, a niece, a cousin, a friend, and a beautiful woman. She's a human who's lived through her own emotions and the ups and downs of life. She's here to share her journey to help any other women or any other human who could be living a similar situation through mental illness and depression. Welcome aboard the podcast of Women's Spark, Lysanne. Hi.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming on the podcast today to hopefully help another woman who is currently living through the same situation you lived. And I think you
Mhm.
mentioned 11 years ago.
Yep.
Um,
I'm
and
63, so
you're you're 53, exactly. So
63. I'm 63.
yeah, 63. I thought you were joking. But and this is what we were saying just before we press the record button. Is it's very taboo to talk about depression because a lot of people just feel like they failed or they're not good enough, and maybe they shouldn't reach out and they can get over it on their own. But maybe by listening to your journey in their car on their own, they can maybe take something from it and maybe move forward and kind of grow from that.
Yeah.
So I would like to leave the floor to you, Lysanne, and tell us what was
Well,
your journey 11 years ago?
well, I was about to go out for the evening, and my best friend, she says, "I'm gonna go and pick you up. You're not going anywhere." And because I wasn't feeling well, I had like 3 pairs of glasses on my head, 3 on my eyes, and my cat was going up and down. And that's when my friend came in and she says, "Oh boy." So she says, "I'm going to call your parents." And they came over, and my mother says, she says, "Oh." So they got an ambulance, and I ended up in the hospital. But part of it, I don't remember
Okay.
because you lose track, which is normal.
Mhm.
And you're not taking a pill or 2 pills or whatever, you're taking nothing. And it took a couple of days because there's a lot of people with that problem, mental illness. And by the time they get to you, so you get to see a doctor, which is, as you know, called a psychiatrist, and you don't like the man or the person, the woman, because in your head, a psychiatrist, oh, they treat people with mental problems. So it was. I don't know. Me, it took about 5 to 6 days before I realized, like, okay, this is a hospital for mental illness, and it is strictly for that.
Mhm.
And then I got up. They moved me to a floor where it's people like me, but I couldn't associate with these people because to me, I was different from them, but I wasn't. That took me
Right.
another three weeks to a month, and then got to meet the psychiatrist for me. And he says, "Okay, yeah, I'm going to put you on these pills." So 1, 2, 3, and nothing worked with me. But to be honest with you, I never associated with these people. Until this day, I wouldn't associate with these people.
Okay.
There's 28 of us on that floor, and the second floor is 28 also. And I said, "No, how do these people get to associate?" And I would sit sometimes with them and to realize we're not on the same level here. One's
Mhm.
got mental illness, but something else added, and da. And then my doctor, I said, "Listen, I've been here for 3 months, let's say," and I said, "You're not doing anything for me. What am I doing here?" And he says, "One thing I did come up with," and he says, "A lot of people it works." And me, I'm listening. I said, "Okay." He says, "The only thing that might work, doesn't mean it's going to work, is electroshocks." I got out of his office, but I said, "You know what?" And I turned around. I said, "You are a mental case. You're the
Yeah.
one that needs electroshocks." And then the head nurse, who was a man, he says to me, he says, "Zan, you have to try it." He says, "Me, I'm going to tell you." He says, "I'm a nurse. I'm going to tell you if it worked the first time." So I went, and he told me, I'll never forget him. He says, "I'm sitting down having my breakfast, the best food in town." And he says,
From
"You
hospital, right? Hospital breakfast. Yes, keep going.
wet
I'm sorry.
bread, see, wet bread there every morning for five
Yeah.
months." And he says, "Yeah, it worked on you." I said, "Well, how can you tell?" He says, "I know it worked." And he says, "You need to go for more." So my doctor, he says, "Go for a couple of more." And then the doctor that does it, between him and me, we decide when it's over or not.
Mhm.
Like, yeah. So So it's my doctor and this doctor at the hospital, another hospital.
Mhm.
He says, when I think it's over, it's over. And I'm going to tell you, and I'm going to tell your doctor during the day. I'm going to give him a call. So after 16, 17 electroshocks, I was out. I was out of the hospital.
16 or 17 electroshocs, and that is what cured you, or something else
No, it
cured you?
cured me. And then my own doctor says, okay, you did the electroshocks, fine, but you need maybe 2, 3 pills, to float yourself. And today
Okay.
I'm still taking them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, if you don't mind me, I'm going to rewind a little bit
Yeah.
because I want to fill in some blanks here. First of all, your friend comes to your house. You have 3 glasses on your head and she
Mhm.
calls you parents. What were the other symptoms that you had that made her want to call you parents and thought, okay, there's something not right here?
Uh, my head, I cannot. I remember my head. I told my friend Suzanne. She says, "Are you hurting somewhere?" I said, "My head. I feel like it's stuck between two walls. The two walls are going like this." And I'm not saying it's true, but it's a reality for you because you're ill.
Yeah.
And she says, "Okay, Zan, there's something wrong, And my cat, because cat animals, you have animals,
Yep.
they smell how you are, whether
Yep.
it's your kids, your husband, whatever. So my cat Puffy, she was going up and down in my kitchen thing there. Puis là, elle dit, your cat, what is she doing? I said, well, I don't know. She must feel that I'm not doing well. And I wasn't doing well because I said, my head, there's something, I feel splitting in half.
Hmm.
That's the old boy.
Yeah. Okay.
I didn't know.
Yeah. I can see how she got a bit concerned. For the listeners out there who are not sure that they're
Uh,
having a depression, what are the symptoms that you felt were part of the depression?
uh, all these symptoms that people say on TV that you don't do nothing in the daytime. You're
Mhm.
in bed, you get up to get an apple or whatever. These things are true. These are things, you don't do your laundry. All these little things that you're used to doing as a piece of cake, you let go of a lot of things. And when
Crying,
uh,
maybe some
crying,
crying
yeah,
as well.
but no. In my case, no, but a lot of people, yeah. I'm sure they're trying to do their best, but they don't know how to treat people with the mental illness. They don't. And me, I
Well,
had a nurse assigned to me
yeah,
every day. And it's just that they were sitting with you for 10 minutes. Big deal.
right. It wasn't,
Um,
maybe you would have wanted a different kind of care that would have been nicer, been a bit more attention, a bit more listening.
yeah, over there, I went through a lot of, it was hard.
It was
It
hard,
was
eh?
really, really hard. And the guy, I remember in the morning, I used to go from room to room to say, okay, it's breakfast time. You do not need to come into my room to wake me up. I'm already up. Uh, uh,
I'm gonna backtrack a little bit. When you got to the hospital, you said you couldn't relate to the people who were in there.
no,
And
no.
even after, you said after 4 days, after 10 days, after 3 weeks, after 5
No.
months, you still couldn't relate. Why is it that you couldn't relate to those people?
If you go on a trip, an organized trip, there's different kinds of people. There's two of them that I did associate with. The rest, no,
What
I'm sure they were good people. I would talk to them, yeah. Uh,
was it because, as we know, mental illness, or let's just stick to depression, there's so many different levels. There's mild, there is severe, there's it's such a
I
wide
was,
range when you talk about depression. And maybe is it because that when you got to the hospital, there were people there who had even more severe depression than what you were going through?
mine, I would say it was categorized as severe.
Okay.
Right. And I don't know. And there was four of us who were allowed to go outside of the hospital, and it was a big, 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 big land and water. We were allowed to go out and walk for 15, 3 hours, whatever. because her case was not that they had to tie I'm exaggerating here, that they had to say to the person, you cannot go out. I call it 5 months from hell. That's
I,
what it is.
you know what? And I totally understand why you would say it like that. And I'm so sorry you went through that. And
Well,
my brain is trying to rack around what you said earlier, having 16 to 17 electroshocks today. Do you think it was necessary?
yeah, because no pill, after I don't know how many pills he tried on me, was not working.
Okay.
I went to visit them in the hospital, and I'm like, I had a shock because it was worse in those days the way they were doing it. And if it's in your family, I have nieces and nephew. Two of them had it, but it was nothing, no hospital, no nothing. But my a member of my family says, I don't believe this.
It's funny you say that because when I said earlier in the introduction that I had a burnout, a little bit of what you would call a depression back in 2017. And the question I got from people around me was, are you sure you're okay? Because you seem fine, right? In front
Therefore,
of everyone, we smile and everything's
no,
okay. But actually, in the background or in here and here, the head and heart, they're in massive turmoil. There's pain going on up and down there. So it's not because you don't see it that
oh, no,
it's
no,
not
no.
there.
You can never. And I think in the 20s or in the 30s, it would show more because what happened. I have somebody in the family, but his father was treated for that illness most of
Mm,
his life.
yeah.
But then he got treated the last 6 years of his life by a doctor that was very well known all over Canada. And he was right here in Montreal. And whatever he gave them, the patients got worse. And I'm talking worse because this man, I used to see him twice a year. He's always asking for me to go sit next to him. He says there's something that he smells about you, you know. But he
He
got
can
treated by
relate
this.
to relate to that you were going through that and you were probably a safety zone for him where he wouldn't feel judged because you knew you understood.
Yeah,
Mhm.
very damaged. And today he passed because I know. And wow. But it
Bef-
does happen. Yeah.
Before we take a quick break, I have one last question. How are you today with your depression? Is it still there? What are you
Uh,
taking? Or how do you manage your daily
I
life
was
with
I
it?
was I was lucky because I never went back because I didn't need to go back. Like everybody else, you have your ups, you have your down, this and this and that. But when I came out of there, I remember 5, 6, 7, 8 months down the road, I used to play golf. And oof, I left that golf club because people were laughing at me. Really. It didn't work.
But what about today? How do you still have depression? Like you said earlier, you're
Mm.
still taking medication. So is
Oh,
that
yeah, because that, I guess, because depression, where it is exactly, it's not your fingers, obviously, it's the
the
forehead.
frontal? Yep,
And this is
the
what
front.
disconnects.
When you fall ill with depression, it the
Well,
frontal
the
lobe
frontal
disconnect.
lobe of your forehead, it
Yes,
disconnects.
it
It's like a
disconnects.
wire. It separates and then goes.
That's it.
But this
So you
this is what it is. Right.
you're having to take medication every day to
I
stay
have no
afloat.
choice.
Are you still seeing friends,
Uh,
activities?
well, I used to. I mean, I used to do quite a few things, but not anymore because I got fed up. I don't ski anymore. I don't play golf anymore. But what happened when I was hospitalized, I had my two good friends that came every single day, 3 times a week. And but as the months went by and the years went by, and that I didn't like, and it was my decision to get get rid of these people, but you get to meet more. Because me, when I was younger, I used to organize everybody's dinner.
It's in the harder times that you really realize who your true
Yeah.
friends are.
It's, but me, I got rid of people, and then I said, "Are you doing the right thing?" And I said, "Yes, you're doing the right thing." But that's me.
Mhm.
Some people, ils vont s'entourer, they're gonna try to get more friends,
Yep.
which is fine. But to each their own. The
Yep.
thing is, I realized over the years, not yesterday, but over the years, is that you have to be comfortable with yourself. If you're
That
not,
is yes.
you're gonna have a hard time.
That's it. And
That's for sure.
I think you hit the nail on the head, and it's mental illness is a pain inside where you're not, and it's more than that, right? It's clinical and everything. I'm not a doctor, but from my own experience, I can say that you're not at the right place. You're not
Yeah.
fulfilling yourself, and you're
No.
somehow unhappy in one or many spheres of your life. So, and it's your body talking to you. And at some
Yeah.
point, it talks to you
Yeah.
very, very loudly. And
Yeah.
it
But
gives,
me, when I went into the hospital, I didn't go in with my feet. I went head first. It was like I was so lost that I come.
yeah,
Oh, what's happening here?
that's
But
right. Lysanne, I want to start first of all by saying thank you for sharing your story. I know you've said after 11 years it's easier to talk about, but it's a process. And back then it may not have been that easy. So we're going to take a quick
no.
break,
Yeah.
gather our thoughts, and we're going to come back and talk a little bit about how you are today, the positive side of your journey. Are you ready for that?
I'm
Okay.
ready for anything.
We'll be right back. Stay right here. Welcome back to the podcast, A Woman Spark with Janik. We're back with Lysanne Moisan. As I mentioned, she's a beautiful soul who's had her fair shares of ups and downs. Today, we're talking about depression, mental illness, and she even was hospitalized through her own depression. She's told us about her journey, the battles that she's had, the ups and downs, the fight she's had to go through on a daily basis. But now it's time to talk a little bit about the journey on the positive side. So I want to welcome her back. Welcome back, Lysanne.
Thank you.
So, what is your positive take from your journey with depression today?
Uh, uh, I don't know. It's a bit hard to. At the beginning, I have to say there's no positive.
No, no.
And
And
that's
in the
the
midst
truth
of it,
there.
it's hard. Yes.
Once I got out, I had my condo, but I was not able to go and say, okay, I'm going to stay there alone. I wasn't able.
Mhm,
So I went to my parents, but I was not getting anywhere.
mhm.
And so my mom knew these two ladies, but they're retired today. Their job was, let's say you broke your leg, you need somebody with the kids, your husband. So they came to my place for 3 months, 5 days a week.
Okay.
They would come in at 9 till 6, 7, 8 o'clock at night. They would cook for me. That was part of the job. And there was one of them, the two of them are named Diane, but one of them I got really close to, and she helped me a lot. She would say, okay, get
Uh-huh.
up. We're going for a walk or we're going to a movie. She was really spiffy, that helped me a lot. And then when they finished their contract, Lola, I was like, this was my condo. I was able to start moving to do my stuff. And
Mhm.
then I went back, not what I was doing before as a job. I went to work for Remax.
Yep.
I was not an agent. I was working
Real
with
estate
the
agent.
agents. Right.
Yes,
Yeah.
agency.
Yeah. In fact, I went from job to job, but the other job I had before property management was a loft. They fired me. I
Yeah.
said, listen, I took your building 11 years ago. It was down to zero, and now it's like perfect. And they kicked me out, and I said, okay. And then I got sick. I wasn't
You got
feeling well,
okay.
Man, I don't know, maybe people outside listening to me. I did go back to the hospital a second time. I don't mind saying it. I had two psychoses.
Okay.
A psychosis, I mean, you get out of your body, literally,
Yeah.
and you don't know what the hell is happening. And apparently, there's so many things that happened to me over there. I don't remember 1 minute, but 5 years down the road, I remember everything. Which is, oh
Really?
my God. But then they treat
What?
you, huh?
How did the psychosis get induced? How did it start?
Uh, it was a couple of nights there that my head was again very weird, but I was losing some weight, which usually is not my case,
Mhm.
and it was getting worse and worse and worse. And I don't know. I saw my mother that day or whatever. And she says, you're not well." I said, "Well, maybe I'm not." So that night, I called 911 myself, and let's go back to the hospital. So I went back. I think it was the next night I got the psychosis, and then they bring you to a normal hospital because they have to do some tests right away.
Yeah.
So
Did
they
you
did.
detach did you detach yourself from yourself? I'm asking that because I've had a psychosis in the
Oh yeah,
last
listen.
few months,
I
and but I
yeah.
didn't detach from myself, but I had a lot of paranoia, a lot of massive depression through it. And so what were the symptoms to your psychosis?
I got into the hospital. It's like I had part of my body on the right and the other part on the left.
Okay.
And they
Okay.
put me in a separate room because
Mhm.
usually over there at the emergency, there's more than one person. And then I see this guy. I said, like, who are you? And he says, I'm a doctor. I said, fine, close the door and leave me alone. It's like I was rejecting everything because I said, I don't know what's happening to me.
Mhm.
Man, you're doing this, you're this, well, no.
Everything you were taking, the medication, the stress, the all the factors that come into play can really, really mess up your brain, right? If
Yeah.
I can go back to the previous question is how do you remain the best version of yourself through all that? How on a daily basis? Because yes, mental illness is there every day. It's not leaving you. Yes, you've got the medication to keep you going. Illness. What do you do to have a good day? To be the best
Well,
version of yourself
you,
every
you
day?
have to perk yourself up. Because, like I said before, and it does happen at the beginning, you're in bed all day long, and now you don't even wash yourself,
Mm,
you know. But you have to perk yourself. You have to get up and say, okay, I don't need groceries, but I'm going to go to the grocery store. You have
force
to,
yourself.
basically, you really have to force yourself because if you keep on the same state, same situation, you're going around and the circle is not going to go straight.
Yeah.
You're going round and round and round. And then what's going to happen? I'm not a doctor. You're going to, you're not really going to get out of it. You're going to go back
Yeah.
into it. Doesn't mean you're going to have a major breakdown, but you're going to go
Yeah.
back into it. And, you know,
You have to find your spark.
yeah.
And what was your spark? Because if I could just backtrack quickly, my spark today are my children. My children get me up. My children force me to get out of my head. My children help me without them knowing. They help me be the best version of myself every day because I've got them. They're relying on me. I'm responsible for them. They're
But
dependent on
yeah.
me.
Oh,
What is your spark, Lysanne?
uh, uh, I it's hard to say because me, like I said, when I got out of the hospital, I was a bit of a catastrophe zone. But then when I have these two women, I mean one, and not the both of them together, like I said, they helped me a lot. And then you say, okay, they're not here anymore, like they did for 3 months. What do you do? So I said, okay, do this, and I started, which I never did before. I started going to movies alone. Do you do
Mhm.
that normally? Unless you're a couple and say, yeah, let's go together. And people, not all, but some people will say, "Bah, how are you able to go to see a movie?"
But
She
you
said,
found
"Listen,
something that you
I
like.
yeah," I said, you're alone too, just like me. You never went?" She says, "No, I was never there." Mais j'ai dit, "You're missing out.
That's
If
it.
you're going to wait for your neighbor to knock on your door and say, 'Hey, on va manger une patate frite,' you might wait till you die. You
That's
have to
right.
learn to, you're with yourself alone. You like yourself. You do your stuff and that's it. But you cannot wait on the neighbor to be on your side or whatever. It's not going to happen. It's not.
I
You know
totally
how many
agree.
times people's gonna say, like, I have obviously the neighbors in my garage, and I have my neighbors right next to my car. And then François, il dit, you know what, it would be good, on va le prendre une petite bouchée. And then I told him, je disais, arrête. I said, the wife is right there. She said, but you don't need to be polite, whatever. But he knows me.
Mhm.
This is the listen, he's the, you know what? He says, you're very good. I said, it's not a question of being good. You like yourself, and if you want to like yourself more, you have to do some stuff.
For yourself. You
Yeah,
have
for
to find.
yourself.
So, is it fair to say that by getting to know yourself and pleasing yourself and doing some self-care,
Yeah.
learning what makes you happy and what makes you tick for yourself, you already have half of the problem solved in front of you.
Oh my, yeah. Because I'm sure a lot of people that have depression, whatever, they're not able to say, okay, this is my next step. I'm gonna
Mhm.
do this. Because it's hard.
That's it.
And
Plus, we're in an
depending,
era of social media where we have
yeah,
constant dopamine, we have constant
yeah,
scrolling of trying to get happy through something that's never really going to make us happy long term. So we just have to face ourselves, stop,
yeah.
take all the distractions out, and learn to be alone with ourselves and find what we like.
Yeah, I mean, me, I have like you, I have brothers and sister, and my oldest brother, I don't believe, I know he was with a woman, but he's been with this one for a long time.
Mhm.
And my brother is, he's not married, mais il fait 33 ans. And my sister, 40 odd years, whatever. But, they have their lives like that. Good for
Mm,
them. But I never criticize their life, which sometimes I want. But
mhm.
I never did. They want to live their lives that way. Let it be.
That's it. Thank you, Lysanne, for sharing with us. Before we go,
Yeah.
I would have one last question for you.
Yeah.
For anyone who's listening right now, what advice would you have for anyone who's going through right now, who are in the
Uh,
midst of this crazy zone of depression and don't know where to go from here?
I would say consult.
Yeah.
Consult because we say, I'm fine. Give it a week or two. I'm going to go on a trip.
Hmm.
I did that. I went on a trip for 10 days. I had to come back. My insurance didn't pay because I was sick, because apparently I was sick before I left.
Okay.
Consult, whether it's a psychiatrist, because a psychiatrist is not going to say, here's the pills. He's going to
Hmm.
say, you know what? Go to a psychologist. And just by talking maybe 5, 6 times, that's
It
it.
could help.
But
Exactly.
consult, don't wait, because I know a couple, the man died there, my friend died. He wouldn't consult. He'd say, tu perds rien, là. You have nothing to lose. Nah. But
Yeah.
consult, that's the main thing. And people are afraid. Don't be afraid.
Thank you
Or
so
else you're
much.
going to go to the dentist.
That's a great advice. Honestly, it's a great advice because this episode about mental illness at the very beginning, I said, if you're not comfortable listening, please feel free to go on to the next podcast. But if you are listening, this is not a place to we're not going to fix you today. Please consult, because really, psychologists, psychiatrists, they're trained to help you. Your doctor, your
Oh,
GP,
yeah.
if you don't know where to start, speak to someone. And if you have no one else around you, call a helpline even.
Yeah.
So thank you so very much, Lysanne, for
You're
sharing your
welcome.
journey with us.
Hmm.
I really hope it's going to help other women who are listening. To all you beautiful ladies out there, I hope you can take in some, if not all, the knowledge that Lysanne's given us today. This is it for us for today. Tune in every week on your favorite podcast platform. If you want to get involved with the Be Guided, Be Inspired community and you want to share what kind of experience you've had to help other women, or you're currently going through a tough time,
Mm.
get in touch with us. Meet with us on the platform at www.beguidedbeinspired.com and write us and we'll connect together. You can also find us on your various social media platforms. Thank you for listening. Keep sparkling, you beautiful women. Thank you, Lysanne. Thank you to
Thank
everyone.
you.